Hey everyone, it's Matt. I hope you're having a good Sunday. And I was just watching some videos on YouTube here and watched me and Mr. Mayo Joe's video on his thoughts, sort of 2 months or whatever it's been into the new XM Sirius Beatles channel, and thought I would just make a quick reply video, sort of what I've thought of it. I pretty much agreed with most everything he said. The channel is overall pretty good, and I've been enjoying it. I think he brought up the fact that there's a lot of Beatles songs that have been played to death, obviously, and he's just sort of tired of hearing them, or only wants to hear them on certain occasions when he's really in the mood. And I get that. I'm with the Beatles. There are certain of the the usual suspects, the standards that it's never really bothered me with the Beatles. I know there's songs like "Who Are You" by the Who that if I never hear that again in my life, it's just a good song. But if I never hear it again, I'd be perfectly happy with that. "Brown Sugar" by the Rolling Stones, maybe a couple of songs like that. But with the Beatles, it's never really affected me that way, other than to say that I'm fine with "Hey Jude," "Let It Be," "All You Need Is Love," and I even play Beatle records still. I mean, they're my favorite band, and I pull the records off the shelf and play them pretty often. I play the CDs in my car when I'm driving to work, but there are some of those songs that I'll admittedly come together or whatever that I still love them. They're great songs, but some days I'm in the mood and it's fine if they come on the radio and I enjoy it and get into it. Some days they come on and I'm like, I don't want to hear Eleanor Rigby today, and I switch the channel. So I don't know if the same degree, but I totally get what he's saying. So there is that. But I think the station really, I mean, because XM radio is it's a business. They've got to make money, so they're kind of at a rock and a hard place. So even though you got the hardcore Beatle fans listening to this, kind of what we want versus what the station just realistically has to do from a financial standpoint. I think, if they just were playing deep album tracks from George and John Ringo solo albums, or making that 60, 70, 80% of what they were playing, that the masses and most of the people listening to the radio are just, casual fan as opposed to the hardcore fan of anything, whether it's the Beatles channel or, whatever. So, I mean, I don't know how long that would last from a business model standpoint, which is unfortunate that you have to think in those terms, but that's, unfortunately, that's the reality. So I understand that they have to play "Maybe I'm Amazed" and "I Want to Hold Your Hand" and "A Day in the Life" and all that. Uh, at least a good helping of that every day. But yeah, I do. I can share your pain somewhat. I think they've kind of slowed down on it, but I heard "P.S. I Love You," which maybe is not one of their major hits, but I think I heard that at least twice a day, every day for the first week or two that the channel was on the air, and it seems like "One After 909" and "Obla Di Obla Da" pops up an awful lot. So I get where you're saying there, but it's also, I mean, it's great for me because I mean, I love the Beatles, and yeah, sometimes "Let It Be" will come on and I'll go to another channel, but I'll come back eventually. And sometimes it comes on and I'm in the mood to hear it, so I'll just listen to it. But I do love that you get to hear the obscure, the never or very little played solo cuts, and then even some of the Beatles cuts that don't get played. You mentioned "Another Girl." I've heard "You're Gonna Lose That Girl" quite a few times, which is one of my absolute favorite Beatles songs. I heard "I'm Down" the other day, which is another one of my absolute favorite songs of theirs. So I think they do as good a mix as is possible, given the fact that they do have to attract subscribers and attract listeners. And so, if they're just playing side two of "Extra Texture," the majority of people aren't gonna know what that is or be interested in it. But I think it's good too, because if someone's just a casual rock and roll fan or a casual Beatle fan, I mean, not good for the band, I guess, good for the radio station. Not means anything for me one way or another. But if just a casual Beatle fan turns over there and they hear "All You Need Is Love" or whatever, and then they hear a cut off of Paul McCartney's new album or George Harrison's self-titled album or something that doesn't never really got a lot of airplay, maybe they think, hey, that's kind of a cool song. What was that? And they, might go look it up. I don't know how realistically how likely that is to happen, but it probably might here and there. So I think they're doing okay in that respect. I'm not crazy, as you said, also about the cover versions of people covering the Beatles songs, with some exceptions. I've heard the Beatle Bugs that you talked about. I actually heard them at the office right now doing some stuff, and so I heard them driving out here today, and I heard them a day or two ago. I'm not even sure who they are, if that's a new band or what they are, but kind of like that. But I heard, one of those 80s hair metal bands. I can't remember, Poison or I don't know, it's one of those bands doing Helter Skelter, which was just god awful. And most of the covers I've heard haven't been all that good. I don't have a problem with them playing those so much, just the ones they play haven't been very good. There's a lot of a lot of the soul artists back in the 60s and 70s covered Beatles songs and did some really good versions of them. Wish they'd kind of play some more of that. Seems like most of the cover versions they played have been more recent artists or people who have been around a while, but more recent versions of covers. I haven't heard a whole lot from the 60s or the 70s of people covering the Beatles, which maybe they're playing it and it's just not when I'm listening. So I have it in the car. I don't have it. I had considered from time to time, but I just never have. I don't have one of those radios at home, and I don't have it on the internet. So it's just when I'm in the car that I get to hear it. I have a long drive to and from work, so I get to hear it quite a bit. But what it comes down for me, what else? The Fab Forum, I really like that when I've heard it. The problem is it comes on, I think it's like Wednesday night, which I'm home usually, or if I'm working and doing something. So I've only got to hear it maybe 2 or 3 times. I wish they would replay it some more times. They have it Wednesday night, and then they have it on Sunday at, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a replay of the Wednesday show, and Sunday I'm usually at home, so I'm not sitting out in my car, especially now when it's 100 degrees. And I would like to hear the show. I've heard bits and pieces of it, like I said, 2 or 3 times. It seems like a fun show. I'm really into the Beatle podcast, Things We Said Today and Fab Four, Free for All, and all those podcast shows. And so this would be right up my alley. But I wish they would replay that. I don't know, 5 o'clock on a Tuesday or something also, so that I could kind of hear it going home, even though the original is, 8, 9 o'clock Wednesday night. So, but I mean, that's not their fault. It's just, I just don't happen to be in the car generally on Wednesday night or Sunday afternoon. And what else? So, yeah, but I've enjoyed it. I've heard, it's been great to hear some of the obscure, deep album cuts that you never hear on the radio, things from 33 1/3, from just, whatever. Heard a Ringo song the other day that was really good, that I had no idea what it was, the title, or what album it came from. I'd never heard it, and unfortunately I was driving somewhere and had to get out of the car, so I don't know that they even announced what it was, but that's been fun. The people picking the 4 songs is, like you said, pretty much just picking the standard cuts everyone knows. And I mean, I guess that depends on who they're picking, because if you're getting a hardcore Beatle fan, you're probably going to get some interesting choices. If you're just going for celebrities, because they've had some kind of strange celebrity. Then they had, maybe I'm wrong on this, but like Miley Cyrus, or they had the Mary Winstead, the actor girl that's like 20 something that's on. She's on the latest season of Fargo, and she's been in some movies or whatever. She's like 20 or 30, and so there's some kind of odd choices, which in a way is refreshing that they're not going for the same old people from the '60s. But I wish they'd kind of, I don't know, mix that up more. But I can take or leave that. The people picking their songs, and yeah, so there's that. And otherwise, I think it comes down to, because I've had XM for about 10 years now. I got a car in 2007. Don't have that car anymore, but a car I got after that also has XM. Car I had before that, I had a CD player and just regular AM/FM radio. AM/FM radio in where I live anyway has been just pretty much worthless since the early to mid '80s, because it's just top 40 crap, or it's the classic rock channels or the oldies channels that basically tend to play. They've got a playlist of like 30 songs that they just over and over and over and over play, and it drives you nuts. So nothing worth listening to on that. I listen to CDs a lot, but I really like having XM radio, obviously, because I kept it. I had a free trial period when I got both of those cars, but I've had it the entire time for the last 9, 10 years, and I think it just comes down to, do you like other stuff on XM? There's however many channels there are. There's 200 channels or 150 channels or whatever. A lot of it's crap, but there's good stuff on there, I think, and there's channels on there that I really like. So I had it well before the Beatles channel came along, and so there are my regular channels that I listen to. So I don't just sit there and listen to the Beatles channel and nothing else. Obviously, I listen to it a little bit, probably every day, but I'll go listen to 60s on 6, Little Steven's Underground Garage. There's a college football talk show channel that I listen to. I like the old radio show channel, Classic Radio Classics, I think it's called. Plays the old radio shows from the 40s, 50s, 30s. And I like every year they do the Christmas music, they do the Halloween channel, stuff like that. So, I mean, there's things that I will listen to that I've been listening to for years. Soul Town, Little Steven, all that. So, and if you're just buying it for the Beatles, even, deep cuts and how big a Beatles fan you are aside, you're probably going to eventually kind of get burned out on it. So, I don't know. To me, it's worth having just because I like XM radio, and it's way better than real radio in Dallas-Fort Worth area anyway. I don't know about the rest of the country, but I've enjoyed it overall. I think it's just something to go listen to for a while, and then you go listen to something else, or I listen to a CD or whatever. But by and large, I think any of the benefits outweigh any of the problems with it. And so that's probably about all I've got to say about that. I don't know how interesting any of this was, but yeah, pretty much what go along with most of what you said there, Joe. And take care. We'll see you all later.